The house looked perfect from the outside. That was the first thing everyone noticed about it. The large windows, the old architecture, the tall trees surrounding the property like silent guards standing watch over the neighborhood. It looked peaceful in the way only wealthy suburban neighborhoods can look peaceful. The streets were clean. The sidewalks were empty. The lawns were perfectly cut. Everything felt controlled, predictable, safe. The kind of place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. And maybe that's exactly why the story became so terrifying. Because fear feels different when it enters a place that was never supposed to contain it. When the Broaddus family first visited the house on 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey, they immediately fell in love with it. It wasn't just a house to them. It was the result of years of hard work. The dream home, the place where their children would grow up, the place where memories would be created. The property had history. It had personality. Unlike newer homes that all looked identical, this one felt alive. The wooden floors creaked softly beneath footsteps. The windows allowed sunlight to spill across the rooms in long golden lines during the afternoon. Even the silence inside the house felt comforting. Everything about it felt right. And yet, before the family even officially moved in, something happened that would completely change their lives forever. One evening, after spending time at the house during renovations, Derek Broaddus walked toward the mailbox near the front of the property. Most of the mail inside was ordinary. Bills, advertisements, nothing unusual. But one envelope stood out immediately. It was addressed simply to the new owner. No return address. No indication of who had sent it. At first, Derek assumed it was probably a welcome letter from a neighbor. Maybe someone introducing themselves. Small towns sometimes work that way. Friendly people, friendly gestures. But the moment he opened the envelope and began reading the letter inside, the atmosphere changed instantly. The message began politely enough. The writer welcomed the family to the neighborhood, but within seconds, the tone became deeply unsettling. The writer claimed that his family had been watching the house for generations. "My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, the letter said. "My father watched the house in the 1960s. And now it is my time." The writer signed the letter with a name that would soon become infamous across the internet. The Watcher. At first, Derek thought it had to be some kind of prank. Strange, yes, but probably harmless. Maybe a bored neighbor trying too hard to be funny. Then he kept reading, and the letter became impossible to ignore. The Watcher mentioned details about the family that no stranger should have known. He knew they had children. He knew they had been renovating parts of the house. He even referenced specific construction work that had recently been done inside the property. That meant one thing. Whoever wrote the letter had been physically watching the house closely. Not casually. Closely. Then came the line that completely changed the mood inside the room. "I am pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me." Young blood. The phrase sounded ancient. Possessive. Wrong. Derek later admitted that reading those words made his stomach drop immediately. But the letter became even darker. The Watcher asked whether the children would play in the basement. He asked whether they had discovered what was hidden inside the walls. He asked if they were afraid yet. Imagine standing inside your dream home while reading words like that. Imagine suddenly realizing that somebody nearby had been observing your family long enough to know details about your private life. The excitement surrounding the new house vanished instantly. Fear replaced it almost overnight. The Broaddus family immediately contacted the police. Officers examined the letter carefully, but from the beginning, the investigation faced major problems. There were no fingerprints, no surveillance footage, no witnesses. The envelope had passed through normal postal systems, making it extremely difficult to trace. Still, investigators advised the family not to tell neighbors about the letters immediately. They feared public attention might interfere with the investigation. But secrecy became impossible when another letter arrived. And then another. Each message became more invasive than the last. The Watcher wrote about the house as though it belonged to him spiritually. He referred to it almost like a living thing. Something that demanded attention. Something that needed to be watched constantly. The family started noticing how psychologically exhausting the situation had become. Every small sound outside suddenly felt threatening. Every parked car seemed suspicious. If somebody slowed down while driving past the property, the family noticed immediately. When a stranger glanced toward the house for too long, anxiety appeared instantly. Fear slowly transformed ordinary life into paranoia. And maybe that was the most disturbing part of all. The Watcher never directly attacked anyone. He never broke windows, never forced entry, never made clear threats of violence. Instead, he invaded something much deeper, the family's sense of safety. And once that feeling disappears, it changes everything. At night, the house no longer felt peaceful. The same hallways that once looked warm and beautiful now felt long and empty. Dark windows became terrifying after sunset. The family started imagining someone standing outside, watching them silently from the darkness. And the worst part? That fear was completely reasonable, because someone actually was watching them. The letters proved it. At one point, the Watcher referenced one of the children specifically by birth order. That detail horrified investigators because it confirmed something terrifying. The writer wasn't observing from a distance occasionally. He had been studying the family carefully, watching routines, watching movements, watching the children. The investigation expanded rapidly after that. Police interviewed neighbors throughout the area. Investigators searched for anyone with unusual behavior, personal obsessions, or knowledge about the house. One neighbor quickly attracted attention. A man named Michael Langford lived nearby with his family and reportedly had a habit of behaving strangely around the neighborhood. Some residents described him as socially awkward and unpredictable. Others claimed he spent long periods alone and occasionally stared at neighboring properties. Naturally, suspicion fell on him almost immediately, but investigators could never prove anything. No evidence connected him directly to the letters. And the deeper authorities looked into the case, the more frustrating everything became. Nothing fit perfectly. Every theory had holes. Some investigators believed the writer had to be an older resident obsessed with preserving the neighborhood's history. Others believed the letters were the work of someone mentally unstable. But then another possibility emerged. What if the writer wasn't mentally unstable at all? What if this was someone extremely intelligent? Because the letters showed remarkable psychological control. The writer knew exactly how to create fear without making obvious threats. He knew how to remain legally vague while emotionally terrifying his victims. And perhaps most disturbingly, he appeared patient. Very patient. The letters didn't feel impulsive. They felt calculated, crafted carefully to invade the minds of the people reading them. As media coverage exploded nationwide, public fascination with the case grew rapidly. People became obsessed because the story felt possible, real. Unlike supernatural horror stories involving ghosts or monsters, this fear existed entirely within reality. And that made it worse, because everyone could imagine themselves in that situation. Buying a home, starting a family, then suddenly realizing somebody nearby had been secretly watching them the entire time. The house itself slowly transformed into something symbolic. 657 Boulevard stopped being just an address. It became a psychological trap. The family installed cameras around the property, motion sensors, additional locks, but none of it solved the real problem. Because the fear wasn't coming from inside the house. It was coming from uncertainty. Not knowing who the Watcher was changed every interaction in their lives. Neighbors became suspicious. Friendly conversations suddenly felt artificial. Simple smiles looked unsettling, because anyone could be responsible. An elderly man walking his dog. A quiet neighbor watering flowers. A teenager riding a bicycle past the property. The Watcher could have been anyone, and that possibility poisoned the entire neighborhood atmosphere. At times, Derek Broaddus reportedly became consumed by the case. He analyzed every detail repeatedly, every sentence in the letters, every strange interaction with neighbors, every movement outside the property. Sleep became difficult. Peace disappeared completely. The family eventually became too frightened to fully move into the home. Imagine spending more than $1 million on a house you become too afraid to live inside. That alone sounds unreal. But the story only became stranger as time passed. Online investigators began creating their own theories. Some believed the letters were connected to occult symbolism because of the strange language used by the Watcher. Others believed the writer suffered from severe obsession and viewed the property almost religiously. Then came one of the most controversial theories of all. Some people accused the Broaddus family themselves. Critics online argued that perhaps the entire story had been fabricated for financial reasons. Maybe the family regretted purchasing the expensive home and created the letters to escape the investment. But investigators found no convincing evidence supporting that theory either. And psychologically, the fear displayed by the family appeared genuine. The stress became overwhelming. At one point, the family reportedly avoided even driving past the property unnecessarily. That's how deeply the situation had affected them. And still, the letters continued. One message asked where the children slept. Another referenced specific windows inside the house. The writer seemed fascinated by the idea of the family eventually moving in permanently, almost eager. And the terrifying reality was that whoever wrote those letters almost certainly lived nearby, close enough to observe comfortably, close enough to monitor renovations, close enough to watch the family arrive and leave repeatedly. That idea alone disturbed millions of people following the case online, because the watcher wasn't hiding in shadows far away. He was likely blending into ordinary suburban life perfectly, walking sidewalks, buying groceries. You stop seeing windows. You start imagining eyes behind them. You stop seeing silence. You start hearing tension. That's the true power of psychological fear. It doesn't need violence. It doesn't need blood. It only needs uncertainty. And uncertainty can survive for decades. Even now, years later, nobody officially knows who the watcher was. Or perhaps who the watcher still is. That question continues haunting people because there was never a satisfying ending. No arrest. No confession. No explanation tying everything together perfectly. Only silence. And in many ways, silence became more disturbing than the letters themselves. Because somewhere out there, somebody knows the truth. Somebody wrote those messages. Somebody stood outside that house watching strangers live their lives. Somebody enjoyed creating fear slowly and carefully over time. And maybe the creepiest part of all is that person may still be living an ordinary life today, completely unnoticed. That possibility is what keeps this story alive on the internet year after year. Because deep down, people understand something uncomfortable about fear. The scariest things are not always supernatural. Sometimes the scariest thing imaginable is another human being quietly watching from a distance while you remain completely unaware. And maybe that's why this story still feels unfinished. Because houses are supposed to make people feel safe. They're supposed to protect families from the outside world. But 657 Boulevard became the opposite of that. A beautiful house transformed into a place filled with tension, paranoia, and psychological terror. Not because of ghosts,